What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Brad Bodnarchuk podcast. I am your host, Brad Bodnarchuk. And as I've said every week for the past almost 2.5 years, I'm extremely excited to have you guys here. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means the world to me. And today I'm talking about something that means the world to me as well. My partner, Lindsay. I'm talking about love, and I'm talking about my story. And this is important for me because, well, a few reasons. One, it's important because I think about this stuff constantly as someone who has, since as far back as I can remember, I've always worn my heart on my sleeve. And I'm an extremely sensitive person. I'm a very naturally loving person. And love has always been something that I've really appreciated and desired and wanted in my life. And we can unpack all the reasons why that is. But something that was important for me to come on and share today is the truth about love, the truth about relationships, the truth about my relationship and relationships that I've had that have been, I don't want to say failures, but they're no longer relationships that I currently have. And the one that I have is one that challenges me and educates me and pushes me. As someone who loves love so much, it's challenging to constantly be in love because it takes so much work. So I wanted to share with you all today, again, a bit more context into who I am and what goes on with me on a more personal level. And I have to be honest, this is one of the reasons why I was so excited to change the format of this podcast from being a strictly hospitality or food-based podcast to something that is a little more, what's the word? Relatable, I guess, for all of us. And as much as I still want to and still do focus on things in the hospitality industry and speak to my clients and work on those items specific to that space, there are other things that I want to discuss. There are other things that I want to share. And now, especially as I'm doing my coaching through Life the Recipe, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to be sharing. And this is where I feel like I add value. So when I say like I appreciate you guys being on the podcast, I mean it. I appreciate you guys tuning in more than you know. So those of you that don't know, Lindsay, my partner, the mother to our beautiful children, we met years ago as friends, and kind of just in passing, I knew who she was, she knew who I was, and there was nothing more spoke of it. Years go by, and the marriage that I was in no longer existed. The marriage that she was in no longer existed. So there was an opportunity for us to hang out and get to know each other a little bit better. And it was literally just circumstance. She had moved kind of into the downtown Vancouver area where I was living. She needed a new gym to train at. I was training at that gym. It all seemed very serendipitous. But what I didn't realize that what was taking place was I was falling in love with the woman of my dreams, the woman that I had been since as far as I could like understand what a vision was or a dream was or a fantasy. This was this person. So I had the pleasure of spending time with Lindsay and better understanding who she is as a person and as a woman. And as we spent more time together, I realized like, whoa, this could actually be something. And she really is showing all the attributes of, that dream girl, that dream woman. And it was an interesting few months of kind of navigating all of that. And what transpired for Lindsay and I over the next, I guess, first year of our relationship was really where we built the roots of what we have now. And what I wanted to share with you guys today is I had a moment of extreme clarity, similar to the moment I had when I flew from Vancouver to Halifax, Nova Scotia to attend my grandfather's funeral. I had a moment of clarity at that time. And the moment of clarity was me understanding that my time was limited, understanding that every day literally was a gift, and I needed to start practicing gratitude right away. But I also needed to start living. I also needed part of me to start living right away. So I had a really palpable moment of clarity at my grandfather's funeral. And then I had another moment of clarity shortly thereafter when Lindsay and I were dating for a time, and then we actually ended up splitting up. And once we split up, it was for a short period of time, but during that split up, I had the most visceral moment of clarity that I think I've ever had. And again, similar to what I had when I was at my grandfather's funeral. And this moment of clarity was the first time that I ever understood what love is. And Lindsay's heard me describe this, and a few other friends that I hold close, near and dear have heard this story as well. But I wanted to share it with you guys because it's actually something that I've put in my book as well, Life the Recipe. And as vulnerable and personal as it is, I think it holds a lot of value for others to hear as well. So we had separated for reasons that, don't really need to be discussed. I'm open to discussing them, but it doesn't really pertain to this story. So we separated for a short time, and in that time, I have a moment of clarity. It was early in the morning. I'm going to guess between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. And I had this like visceral feeling in my bones that I needed to text Lindsay, and I needed to tell her that I loved her. And again, this is really early in the morning. And when I text her that I loved her, I'm not sure of the actual words that I used, but what I was trying to convey at the time was, I now understand what love is. And what love was for me then, and what it still is for me now, what I'm very proud to say is, I realized in that moment of clarity that I didn't need Lindsay in my life to be in love with her. I didn't need her to be my girlfriend, my partner, the dream girl, any of those things for me to love her. For me to fully love her, I understood it needed to be and was unconditional. And we'll get into what unconditional means. And there are 3 types of love, or 3 levels of love that I believe exist. So in that moment, I send her a text message, and I tell her that it doesn't matter to me what you do. It doesn't matter if you choose to be with me or with someone else. It doesn't matter if you say that you love me or you hate me. I love you unconditionally. And that was in that moment that I understood, from the first time I ever told a girl when I was probably in like grade 5 or grade 6 that I loved them. I didn't at that time fully understand what love was, or perhaps I did, but it was probably a different level of love, maybe the selfish or the conditional love, which again, we'll get into. But I knew as I laid on my sofa early in the morning as a single man that I truly loved my now partner. But at the time, she wasn't my partner, but I had an unconditional amount of love for her. And that for me was the most freeing moment of my life. I went through a lot of changes in and around the time Lindsay and I met. I'd ended a marriage that I'd been in for 7 years, a relationship that I'd been in for 10 years altogether. And I was working to be more self-aware about who I was as a man, and what I wanted, and where I was going, and what I was doing. And in this moment, I had never been more sure of something in my life. And I promise you that if I didn't send that text message, if I didn't feel that certainty in my love for this woman, my current reality wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be here right now recording this podcast. I wouldn't be living where I live. I wouldn't have the kids that we have. My reality would be completely different. But because I was able to, and I can't explain how, but because I was able to tap into what I describe, and others as well, as unconditional love, I knew that I did not need anything from Lindsay for me to love her. And when I shared that and when I understood that, as I said, it was the most freeing moment that I can ever remember having. It was completely unconditional. Nothing had to be done for me to feel that way about this person. That to me was, I had finally done it. I finally understood, as someone who has been such a passionate person and sensitive person so much of their life, I finally understood what love was. And I question, through all the relationships I had before, where was I at with my love? What level of love was it? So let's just break down the 3 levels of love as far as I understand them and as far as I've come to know them. So we've talked about unconditional love. Let's just start there. So that for me is level 3. Level 3 is like the love that you have for your children if you have kids, or the love that you have for, your pet, or the love that you have for whomever it is. But unconditional love is extremely difficult to get to. I think when you have kids, it's kind of just, it's a natural thing. But unconditional love means that there are no conditions to loving that person. They don't need to say something. They don't need to do anything. They don't need to be anything but themselves for you to love them. And that can be extremely challenging for anyone to get to that level. But I do believe that all of us have it within us to get there with the right people. But we also have to be at peace with ourselves. So again, I had gone through large transformation at this time. And as I was sitting there on my sofa, having had my heart broken by Lindsay telling me that, hey, I can't be with you anymore. I was quote unquote a broken man, but through that pain, through that fear of even being alone, what I found was the most beautiful thing in the world. And the most beautiful thing in the world was unconditional love. I didn't need anything to exist for me to feel that way about this person. And now I have the exact same feelings about our kids. And then I look at, okay, how do I feel about other people in my life? And can I get to level 3 with the other people in my life? So the other two types or levels of love that exist are level 1, which is selfish love, which if I look back, a lot of my relationships through high school and university, it was all about selfish love, meaning the relationship was all about appeasing me. So I needed to be happy for me to love you back. So in the relationship, the focus had to be on me. It had to be about making me happy. That's a selfish style of love. And you can imagine that one fades pretty quickly, if not for yourself, because that's not fulfilling if you're constantly just filling your own bucket. You as humans, we want to serve other people. So eventually that selfish love, not only will it quit on, the other people will quit on you, part of me, but you'll end up being unfulfilled as well. So level 1 is selfish love. It exists, but it's not long-term and it will fade quickly. Level 2 is conditional love. So conditional love looks like when Brad does this, or when Sam cooks me dinner, or when we go on dates, or when he gives me a massage, or when she calls me on Fridays, or when she sends me flowers, or when he rubs my feet, I love him then. And for a lot of us, this level 2 is where we are at in the majority of relationships, intimate relationships with our family members, our parents especially. It's all conditional. It's conditional on when they show up a certain way, then I will show them love. And that again, it has a short shelf life. You'll lose patience for these people, and that will be very detrimental for your relationship with them. And it isn't a truly authentic style of love. There are conditions to it. And like we talked about, there's level 3. Level 3 is that uninhibited, true, pure, no strings attached love, unconditional love. It's like the love of you. If you ever had like a brand new puppy, like that puppy can pee and poop and bite and bark and do all those things. But guess what? You still love that thing. And look at kids. Babies are no different. Like the way I feel about my daughter, the way I feel about my son is just like it. It is unconditional. So while you don't need to have kids to feel and understand unconditional love, you you need to tap into it somehow, some way in your life. But it isn't dependent on other people. It is dependent on you and the feelings that you create and the stories you create, the stories you tell yourself. And I'm challenging myself as well with all those people that I hold so near and dear to me, people that I truly care about, people that I want to build relationships with, that I want a deeper connection with. I'm challenging myself to get to level 3 with everyone in that circle. Now, it isn't a big circle, but it exists. And I will tell you, it is much easier. It is much easier to be in level 2, even level 1 at times of selfish love. But man, level 2 is so easy to slip into, that conditional love. Like, I love them when, but can you actually show someone, pardon me, unconditional love? No matter what, no matter what they say or what they do or how they dress or how they think, their political stance, whatever it is, can you love that person unconditionally? And trust me, when you can, that is and will be the most freeing feeling that you've ever felt. Not only are you giving so much of yourself and being so vulnerable, being unconditional, but that person will feel that. That person will feel your genuine, true, deep love. Now, when I say unconditional, I mean unconditional. And as we all know, if you've been in a relationship that goes past 3 months, like, it gets difficult, right? Relationships aren't easy. They take work. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that unconditional means you don't have to put in the work. That's actually exactly what I'm saying. If you want to remain on level 3, you have to constantly be working on yourself and constantly be communicating with your partner to let them know things like boundaries, standards, goals, visions, all of these things. You need to be having these conversations, which are really difficult at times, but that's what you need to do. And can you, through these conversations and through these disagreements and through the messy house and the laundry and the taxes and the bills and careers and sex and no sex and lots of sex and a little bit of sex and no passion and lots of like, can you, through all of that, show up every day unconditional? And on that point, before I sign off, I want to quickly touch on something that I was educated by Lindsay when we first met. And I believe it is also in Esther Perel's book, Mating in Captivity. And in the book, she talks about it's a choice. Relationships are a choice. And that, for me, was something that I took for granted in so many relationships, including my marriage that I was in for 7 years. I took for granted that that person was just going to be there every day. I thought that's what marriage was. I thought you just, got married, had a job, and then eventually retired and then died. That was it. But what I understand now is that every day we make a choice of who our partner is. And keep that in mind as you go through your day today. How are you showing up for your partner, the person that you say that you love unconditionally? Are you showing up as someone that they will want to choose today, tomorrow, the next day? Or have you let yourself slide a little bit? Have you gotten a little moody and rude? And have you let yourself go a little bit, whether it's physically or mentally? Have you just kind of mailed it in, assuming that, hey, they're my partner, they're my husband, they're my wife, we have kids together, whatever it might be, she'll be there, he'll be there tomorrow morning. I promise you, if that is your attitude towards your relationship, it is doomed. You need to carry yourself like it is a choice every single day. And as does your partner. They need to know that you and them, is that correct? You and them? Let's just say you're both making an active choice every single day of who you're with. We have the ability to choose every single day. So I say to my buddies, and this may even be out of the book, I can't recall, but I say to my buddies, look, in your relationship, you need to be the guy or girl that your partner wants to leave the party with. So for me, I have a lot of male friends, I have a few male friends. I say to my male buddies, okay, if you're at a party, a theoretical party, and you're there with your partner, And there are a bunch of just successful, funny, sexy men who are just like vibrating this masculinity. And then there's you. Does your partner at the end of the night choose you, or do they choose someone else? How are you showing up for them? Are you ticking the boxes that they need to be ticked each and every day? This is where the work comes in. It's so easy to love people how we want to be loved, but we need to love them how they want to be loved. And that's the challenging part. That's a whole other podcast in itself. Show up for your partner every single day, because them being with you is a choice. Get to level 3 of love whenever you can, and unconditional love. And I promise you, it'll be the most beautiful and freeing experience that you've ever had, knowing that you need nothing to happen to you or for you to feel love for that person that you share this space with. So to Lindsay, I love you. To everyone else that's in my social circle, my power circle, I love you guys. And to you guys listening, I love you guys as well, unconditionally. That's just how I'm built now. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Your support on this podcast has meant the world to me. And I look forward to sharing more podcasts like this. Again, that quick little story I shared about like our breakup and my moment of clarity and unconditional love, that story is in my book / daily journal, which is called Life, the Recipe. That's available for pre-order on my website at bradbodnarchuk.com. For those of you that have ordered the book already, thank you so much. It is coming. I'm working with Tellwell Publishing in Victoria, BC. We just are delayed more than I thought I was going to be. I was a little bit ignorant in regards to the process of putting a book together. If you're interested in the book, grab yourself one. Pre-orders available now. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean the world to me if you would share it with someone else that you think would like it as well. That is it for me, guys. Have an incredible day. Be ridiculously good to each other. And if you can, get to level 3. Unconditional love. Be good and do good. Peace.